What is going on, everybody? My name is LJ Bowens, and I would like to, first off, thank you. Thank you for so much that is going on in your life. Thank you for being here in this new year, which we all call 2021. And it's been a lot of craziness going on. And we all know that the year of 2020 it's been a mix of a lot of things. I'm not going to go too deep into all that just yet, but I do know for a majority of people in this world, a lot of people suffered because of the current pandemic that's happening right now. A lot of people suffered from racial injustice that was going on in this country alone, and a lot of people were suffering from unemployment, losing their jobs, a lot of mental stress, a lot of post-traumatic stress, everything that happened because of all of the things that's going on, all culminating together. And with everything that's going on, I believe that this show in itself coming into fruition for a second season is a good thing, because escapism is good. I think sometimes we have so much going on, and sometimes we get glued to the TV, what's going on with CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, all those channels, because we're looking at the news and everything that's going on. And sometimes we get so engulfed in that amount of business in the world that sometimes it becomes emotionally and physically draining. But there are times where we need to escape from all that and go to the things we love. I, for one, I listen to music. Another thing I do, I'm a big nerd. Like, I love books. I love anime. I love video games. I love a lot of those things. And one of the great things during the whole time of what happened last year, we kicked off this show for y'all that we're looking at right now, known as Art to Heart, where we interview artists of different genres, different mediums, whether it be acting, spoken word, motivational speaking, because yes, the art and the gift of gab is a thing. Visual artists, dancers, you name it. We do that because we feel that it's one of the best things to do to escape from things and you get a chance to know artists in a different lens, because some of us, we get so caught up in the things they do, but we don't know them as the artist. And I think once you get an appreciation of the person, you get a better appreciation for the art that they create. So we were blessed last year to kick it off with 4 awesome episodes, who I'm very thankful that and I have to mention these guests because they're the ones that really kicked this off. We had, for our first season, we had Tony Todd. We also had Stephanie Tough Love Brown, who is a HIV activist and also has done work with Alicia Keys. We also had Megan Hollinshead, who you guys know is the OG Nurse Joy from Pokemon. And we ended it with a good friend of mine named Greg G. Money Johnson, who is a radio personality. He's a podcast host for a show called Smash the Mat Podcast, which deals with everything that deals with pro wrestling. And he's a professional wrestler himself. So in the midst of all that, we were blessed to do a season 2, which kicks off today. So thank you guys for showing up for season 2 of Art to Heart. I am your host, LJ Bowens. I am a spoken word artist, motivational speaker. I am a host of an event known as Nerd Slam, which you have seen at a majority of Comic-Cons on the East Coast. We were getting ready to branch out, but of course, pandemic happened. But this show is one of my babies, and I'm glad that we are in our second season. This is the kickoff show for our second season. So we have a lot going on. We have a lot of great things to talk about. So if this is your first time here, thank you for showing up. If you are a long-time supporter, thank you for coming back. So I'm going to give you all a run of what the show is, and then we're just going to get into it because I'm so excited to bring in our first guest of this year. So what the show basically deals with, it is a spinoff from a show that I do known as Art Meets Life, where it's an open mic, but we also do a Q&A with a featured artist where you get to know the artist before they do some work. This show is more so me and the artist having a one-on-one conversation, talking about art and talking about life. And the great thing is I don't have to ask all the questions. You beautiful people can ask all the questions. So I say that to say that while we are doing this show and we are having our conversations, if you can look right there, feel free to write questions in the comments, whether you are on Facebook or on YouTube, because if you write a question and we get to that question and it is a question that is not too left field, we will bring it up here for our artists, because I feel that you guys have came here to listen more to the artist than to listen to me just, bump my gums and all that good stuff. So, but I can't wait. So I'm already excited. I got my tea. It's about to be fun. Everybody get this started. So I would give you a long introduction of this artist, but I think because we're going to be doing so much talking, you guys are going to know everything about her. Some of y'all probably know a lot about her already, but at the end of the day, this woman is a phenomenal person. I met her years ago for the first time at Fayetteville Comic-Con, and it was her. She was passing by. I think she was coming from the room where I guess they eat their lunch when they take a break or something like that. And I had my table set up, and we just had a general conversation. We took a picture and became friends on Twitter, and every now and then we would share clips, share each other's posts, and we stayed connected through the beautiful thing of social media. So recent events came up, and I reached out to her wanting to do season 2, and I asked if I can get her on the show, and we're here now. So I love this woman because everything she does is awesome. Her spirit is awesome, and she has voiced so many characters in anime, TV, live TV shows, doing the dubs, and she does audiobooks too. But everybody knows her for being the OG Ash Ketchum, like the original OG. I know as an original gangster. So if you consider Ash Ketchum a gangster, then so be it. OG Ash Ketchum. So without further ado, I'd like to bring in our guest to kick off this wonderful show, the one, the only, Veronica Taylor. Woo!
Thank you so much for having me. That was an incredible introduction.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think the world of you. So, gosh, Fayetteville seems like so long ago.
It does. And like it was, like I said, I think it was like just meant to happen. Like I said, you were passing by and we clicked. And like I want to say this real quick, and then we'll get into the whole thing. And I see somebody already posting questions. So Victor Romero, I am going to get to you soon. I promise you. But one of the biggest things is like when you meet genuine people, and you, like for me, I feel I consider myself an empath. And when you're an empath, you know when energy is good energy and when energy is bad energy. And even in the field of being an artist, whether you're meeting people or you just meeting other artists, you kind of know when you get around them. So when we just had a like short little conversation, I just felt like all the joy coming out of you and all the love in the world. So I am thankful for that, and I am thankful for you. So thank you so much for being here. And it is a blessing to have you here on our show.
Thank you.
And I know. So I'm gonna quit. You know, we'll get into that in a minute. But so this is what we're gonna do before we get into our serious discussion. What I do with all of the people that feature on here, I like to do what's known as icebreakers. So I'm going to ask you a few icebreaker questions. You can answer however you feel about those things, and then we're going to go from there. And I'm just letting you know right now the questions are piling up. So I'm looking at the questions for everybody's here. I'm going to get to y'all. I promise y'all.
And I do want to say, piggybacking on what you said, thank you everybody for joining us. I think this year has certainly started off in a crazy way, and people have been through so much last year and into this year. And I don't think the craziness is stopping yet, but I think your show, it facilitates us coming together as a community. And it's just exciting that we can kind of, like I was saying, restart the year by having this moment to just focus for a second and talk about what's important to us and maybe look for some hope in the coming year. And but thank you to everyone who has come together with us today, especially in the middle of so many people are going through such hard times. So thank you. I hope we can give everybody a break for just a sec.
Definitely. Everybody strap yourself in. We're about to have fun. I hope y'all join in the shenanigans with us. So here we go. Icebreaker questions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you a series of icebreaker questions. You just answer what you think best fits you. And then I will let you know when we are at the last question of the icebreaker questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. First question. If you were a superhero, what would your superhero name be, and what would be your superpower and weakness?
Well, I've always said that what I want my superpower to be is to be able to speak and understand every language in the world. So I would love to be able to talk to people in whatever language they're most comfortable in. And I think that would be an incredible way to bridge people. Like I lived in New York City for most of my life. And so to be able to walk down the street and give directions in someone's home language would be the best. I think in Latin, tongue is lingua. I think in other languages too, Spanish. I don't think that would be a good superhero name. So I don't know. How about super talkie, yo?
That's what works. That's what works. I'm cool with it. That's what works. It fits good.
Then I would work. I don't know. This is. We're early in 2021, so that's as good as it's going to get, I think.
Not a problem. Not a problem. So, okay. Question number 2, icebreaker question. Yes. What is your favorite word and why?
My favorite word is fantastic. I love that, and I also think it's full of so many possibilities, and it also has the fantasy, so it can be wonderful. It can also be imaginative. So I'm going to go with fantastic.
Okay. So, which leads to the next question. What is your least favorite word and why?
Hate. I really hate that word. I hate what it embodies. I think that's going to be it. I'm not a big one for swear words, although sometimes they can feel really good when you say them. But I think ultimately hate is my most unfavorite and reviled word.
Got you. I was laughing because you said you're not much one for swear words, but sometimes they can, like, if they come out at a certain time, they can. If any of you guys are listening now, and if you are familiar with season 1, which season 1 we actually have on YouTube, we had Megan's Hollyhead, and one of her favorite words happened to be a swear word, and she kind of went into it like indefinitely. So I'm not going to tell you what the word is. I'm just saying.
Just imagine
that video. Backtrack that video.
Mm-hmm.
I like this question because I feel like this is a great question. So everybody knows you for your profession, but what other profession than your own would you like to attempt, and why?
So I wanted to be an actor starting when I was 5. I was in my first play, and that's when I decided. So I've always wanted to be an actor. When I graduated from grad school is the first time I thought, gosh, should I have thought about something else? But by then it was too late. So what I love is astronomy and archaeology, to really be grounded and look to the stars. So I think I would go for one of those. I think as an actor, you're constantly digging into characters and trying to get under their skin and figure out who they are. So I am an archaeologist in some ways, but I think either of those professions is where I would go if I weren't an actor.
Okay. 2 more questions. Icebreaker questions.
Okay.
You've played a lot of characters, a lot of great characters. If you can choose out of all the characters, which one? I feel like it's a gimme, but I'm still asking you anyway because you might surprise a lot of people depending. If you had the choice to choose any character you feel that embodies you the most, what character would that be?
I think I would like to say Ash Ketchum, in the sense that he is so positive and always looks for a positive resolution to things, and he is so his friends and his family, especially his mom, are very important to him. And so I would like to think that that's who I am, that I am positive, that I am that I really care about my community, that kind of thing. I would like that. I aspire to be more and more like that every day, I should say. Otherwise, I think even May, I probably am a little bit like May in terms of she's constantly balancing her own goals with taking care of her brother and making sure that he is kind of growing responsibly and perhaps becoming a Pokemon trainer, so I guess in a way I am May as well. Okay.
Last icebreaker question.
Okay.
Because everybody believes in something, whether it be God, whether it be Buddha, if they believe in a higher power, if they believe in science, it is what it is. But for you, what would you like to hear the great beyond say to you when you arrive at the end of your mortal journey? Like, so for example, if you believe in heaven, what would you like God to say to you when you reach the pearly gates?
I think you fulfilled your purpose. because I'm constantly trying to figure out. I think I start to cry because I'm constantly trying to figure out what my purpose is and how I can be a better person and how I can be more present and help other people become their best in a way. I think Pokemon resonates with me because a lot of that, those are truisms, like being your best and going for your goal. You know, all of that is just being human. And so I think that at the end, yeah, if not knowing exactly what my purpose is, but having someone say you achieved it, that would be pretty great.
I like how you said that. And this is kind of going off topic from or off the timeline, but actually staying on the timeline. So one of the biggest things with me is I always have this mantra, and I know you always see me post it when I say purpose over popularity. And because I felt the same way, because at a point in my career, I got put in a position where I almost achieved like a great goal, but it took friends to have to sit me down to show me the errors of my ways, because I started getting a big head about myself. Like I didn't see what was going on with that. So with me, it helped me retool my purpose, because when I started getting to the arts, my whole thing of doing the arts was to get better. And I remember I went to my first open mic here in North Carolina, and I said, on the first open mic I went to, if I make it, I want to make sure I do my best to help out those who go through the same thing I do, trying to find those ways to connect to other people and help them with the platform. And then I almost lost that whole purpose until it took a intervention of sorts to bring me back. So I think with what you said just hit the nail on the head, and that was awesome. That's the icebreaker question. Thank you so much.
Well, I do think, though, I think there's a lot of superficial goals. I mean, to like be famous or that be rich. I mean, none of those have any real meaning if you don't have your own quality of life, which means that you are helping others along the way, because any of those things are meaningless, and they don't actually have meaning, because money only gets you so far. Most of us don't ever have enough. I mean, like, look where we are as a country in America. We've got food lines now, and we're all figuring out, like, how do you budget and how do we get through this? And being famous is kind of, I put it in quotes because it's luck that people know who you are, but it's you who makes it worth knowing who you are. Exactly. You know? So yeah.
So somebody by the name of Bill Spade, I hope I pronounced his name.
Yes.
Posed this question, I guess, to both of us. He's gonna get mad at me. I'm gonna be honest with him. So he posed this question for both of us. Since we're in the playoff mood, who is your favorite NFL player of all time and why? So
all time, yeah.
For me, my favorite player of all time will always be Barry Sanders. I'm originally was born in Detroit, Michigan, so I grew up on all Detroit teams before I ended up moving to Ohio and then coming to North Carolina in the military. But Barry Sanders has always been like my favorite player. Like, even if you look at his old footage now, he is just, to me, will always be the greatest running back of all time. And even though Detroit is the most inconsistent team in the whole NFL, he had the chance to leave in order to play for another team in order to try to get to the Super Bowl. But he was too loyal to Detroit, so I didn't want to leave, and he ended up retiring there. So It goes back to, like, I'm happy here. If I can't win with this team, I don't want to win with any other team. And I just like that mindset. And I think a lot of people may think it was a stupid choice for him to do that, because he still had tons more years to still play. But he retired just from that. He ain't want to leave. He just, once his contract ended, and just retired. So for me, that's my favorite NFL player of all time. Hope that answers your question, Bill. And it's up to you, Veronica. Only you, Veronica.
Well, I don't know that I have a favorite. I have always been I grew up in Arlington, so I've been a Washington football team fan. So there's many players that have come through, and I think probably Bill would answer my favorite player faster than I can, because I can never remember anyone's name. I'm totally drawing a blank right now. So I actually love watching football, but I will say that I'm not sure how healthy a sport it is, and so I feel bad saying I'm a football fan, because people really put themselves on the line, and Their careers are shorter because of the injuries, and so I don't know, but I love watching football, and I love that with my family, and I always watch football. Our family would watch on Sundays together, and so the community spirit of that, and going out to watch a game with people, tailgating, all of that. I love football in general. So
Right.
I think they'll be more mad at me now because I didn't really answer the question.
Well, you did.
Sorry.
You did. You did. You
I need to have there, but anyway.
So, Veronica Taylor, I was researching you, and you have an interesting story. A lot that I felt I'm going to try to tap dance around as much as I can from what I looked up and what I kind of got. So,
Okay.
The one thing you did mention earlier is you growing up as an actor. You started off as an actor, something that you always wanted to do. It reminds me of this anime known as the Fate Stay series, because there's a point in Fate Stay where it branches off into 3 arcs, and it talks about if the hero idea was an idea that was inherited, if it was an idea that was borrowed, or if he disregards the whole idea in general and do something else, which I think at some point us as humans, we end up going through those stages. With you, seeing that you began acting in school plays at the age of 5, which is like awesome. I can't remember. Only thing I remember from doing was writing. I don't remember my first play if my life depended on it. But you also wanted to take your acting skills further. So that brings up the question: when you got to the age when you wanted to go further in your acting, was it more so a choice for you to make, or was it a choice that parents kind of like guided you to make? And I know that sounds like a weird question, but I question because it's like sometimes we know we want to do it, and then we know that feeling, this is what we want to do. And sometimes it may be just what the folks lead us to, and then we end up embracing it after a while. So how was that? How was your story when it came to wanting to go further and acting after the age of 5?
When I was in the middle of the play, I was doing Goldilocks and the Three Bears. I just remember knowing this is what I want to do. And so I just was in every play. I also, I took dance classes probably starting in 7th grade. I started playing soccer in 5th or 6th grade because it was the only, we didn't have any girls sports in my school. The only thing you could do was be a cheerleader. And then you were allowed to there were team sports, like community teams that you could join. So I started playing soccer also. So really soccer, dance, and acting is that's what I wanted to do. And I just kept being in plays. I took summer workshops. It's not anything that my parents ever pushed me to do, but they certainly supported me. But my parents are actors, so an actor never wants their children to be an actor. Just 'cause the highs are high, but the lows are frequent and very low. So, but I have a bachelor's in arts. So, I believe in liberal art education. So I definitely balanced out my love of acting with, education, I suppose. And then it's just, so yeah, I guess it was a choice I made, and I was supported, but never pushed to do it.
I'm going to share something real quick because it's going to go into a question that I think somebody put up. So I'm going to share it from 2 people. So the first person, Riff Chick, how you doing, Riff Chick? Says it's scary in LA now because of COVID. The statistics are scary. Are you scared too? And how do you cope with that?
Yeah. Yes. COVID is no joke. It's, I think we all know, especially by now with almost a year in, everybody knows someone who's gotten it. Everyone knows someone who's passed away. Some people know many in both of those categories. Here in Los Angeles, they said now 1 in 5 people have COVID or have had it. Yeah, I find it scary is a good word for it. Mm-hmm. I cope with it by I'm wearing double masks. We have the paper masks that we got for children actually at the grocery store, and another mask on top. So my daughter and I double mask. We have not seen people in a really long time. We never get together with people in a house or anything. We pop to the grocery store with our list. We go in and out quickly. We're helping a neighbor, and we basically keep our masks on all the time. We drop off his food. We see him for a second and we leave, very conscious of how much time it takes for and like the room to fill with your aerosol. We do watch the news a lot. We keep up very much with what the current science is. I guess I'm saying, in short, I fight off my fear with education. So I stay up to date with everything that's going. Obviously, things change, so I stay up to date with that, and we try to just stay away from people, which is really one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. I haven't seen my family in a really long time, and I think it's been really hard. But knowing that what we do now to flatten the curve, which is not, there's no flattening right now, but by staying away and staying with our masks on, we are making it possible for us to go out and see our family later. I'm still hoping for the vaccine, but the vaccine will do no good with the numbers as high as they are now. So we all have to just stay in. I'm lucky I can work from home. And so the work that's been able to transfer over, I'm doing, and the work that couldn't, I'm not.
So I'm going to ask, so I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to ask one quick question real quick, and then we're going to actually go to that, because I think that question about the fact that working from home is good, but I think we need to really dig into that as well, because I kind of been in the same boat. So looking at the work, you also went to, of course, you went to the Catholic University of America, where you participated in the plays and acting workshops to continue to build your acting career at, I want to make sure I pronounce it right, Brandeis University?
Brandeis, yeah.
Brandeis University. I mess stuff up like that all the time. So
it's named after Judge Brandeis.
Got you. So with all this training, all the acting workshops, everything you did, which motivation for you came first? The motivation for being a, let's say, stage theater actor, or wanting to do something more so on TV, as far as people seeing you as Veronica Taylor, the human version of Veronica Taylor, or did voice acting come first? Like, which one led you leading to which one?
Yeah, I've always just wanted to be an actor. So certainly I've loved cartoons my whole life, but I didn't really know that I didn't really think of it as something to do as a career. But I think for everyone who wants to be an actor, whether it's on stage, film, voice, I think being a better actor is the road to take. So for me, it was just about training. And so that for me is about theater. So my training is in theater, and then I've done other work that was on TV or film, and then now voiceover. But it all started with theater, because you really work on building a character, talking and listening, figuring out your objective, all of that stuff that when you're in a play, you work on for a month about in rehearsals. And then you take all of that technique of working on things and developing a character and developing the relationships. Now, when I have a voiceover job, I put all of that into, I have like a minute to make all those decisions. So without that background, I don't think I would be able to be as confident in the work that I have as a voice actor.
Got you.
Yeah.
So,
but certainly having an audience in front of you is like, there's nothing like it. So live on stage, as you know, it's like, there's nothing like that. So I think theater is my real love.
Got you. It's amazing, because I feel so researching and just knowing this from a standpoint of many people I know that either does voice acting or stage acting or both.
Right.
I feel, and you said this in one of your interviews, and I heard a lot of people say it before, I feel like people always, like, if it's one acting that they're not used to, they try to differentiate the two, like they're not the same in a sense. So like, as a writer, there's people that say that, and I always tell this story. There was a friend of mine who was in college doing an English paper, and it was a poetry project, and the professor told them they don't want them to write any spoken word attempts. And I always felt that as being like a slap in the face, and that the professor doesn't know anything he's talking about, because I guess they wanted him to do a poem in a certain way. So with me, there's a style called free write, where there's basically no like rhyme scheme, no meter, or anything. You're just basically writing. So for the professor to say that they don't want no spoken word attempts, if spoken word is a combination between when you're doing your poetry and you're doing performance art at the same time. So when you see poets do slam, that's spoken word, because they're taking two elements and combining together. So I feel like when professors do that, they have no idea what they're really talking about, because they're trying to say, we don't want this attempt, but when you put it on paper, it's not a spoken word attempt. It's it's a poem. It's a free write.
Right.
So I feel like with actors, y'all kind of go through the same thing, because when you're doing voice acting, you're known for voice acting. Some people say that it's not the same as when somebody is actually seen as an actor and they see them acting. So what are your thoughts about that whole concept?
Well, I think it's similar to writing. Like if you're writing a commercial, or you're writing a sitcom, or you're writing a play, you're writing a poem, it's your writing, it's all of your skills, but how you use those skills is different. The how it's applied. And it's the same thing with acting. How you act in a play, the skills that you use are different than what you use on camera, what you use behind the mic. So on stage, I have so much more projection, and depending on if it's Shakespeare or if it's something more contemporary, there's a different style to it. But all of that is acting. It's embodying the character. For you, for writing, it's all about getting the point across, writing and filling in how you want it to come across in 10 words or in 1,000 words. And it's this, I think it's the same as when you're an actor, and then you go into the different branches of it. It's the same as in all the arts. If you're a musician and you play the guitar, you're going to play it differently if you're doing classical music or you're doing rock and roll, but you're still a musician, a guitar player, but it's just your different skills. So I think I would say I'm an actor, but I happen to do a lot of voiceover.
Got you. So I see a lot of questions coming up, and I'm about to go ahead and jump into one particular topic. No, I'm not jumping into one particular topic so I get to these questions. I had to wait. So for everybody who's been writing your questions, thank y'all so much for your questions. I'm about to get to them. The reason I haven't got to them when they were coming in, guys, is because I wanted to build up to that part so we could just bombard Veronica with all these questions at the same time. But I do want to share something real quick from Rocky. Rocky says, "Hi, Veronica. Just want to say you were and still a huge fan icon. Thank you for your portrayal. It was Ash. It was a pleasure meeting you at Fan Expo
in Toronto, maybe Fan Expo. That's the main one in Toronto. I miss that so much. Nice seeing you, Rocky. Yeah, I miss conventions a lot, actually, because I'm really quite lucky that I get to actually talk to people when I see them, instead of just people filing past. And I've been able to meet so many wonderful people and actually establish real relationships.
Yes.
And not because I've walked past your table, but you're an example of just we've met at a convention, and it's a great way to bring people together and cement friendships, I think. So yeah. I miss that so much.
I agree with you. I'm not going to mention the person's name, and this was, I think, a year that you wasn't there. So Favorite Comic Con, they ended up bringing a particular person down who I remember from a certain movie or certain movies from back in the day, and then when that time came a newer movie, and I just didn't like the exchange. I felt like with most people, when they get to their certain like pretty much when you talk about purpose and being a celebrity and everything like that, I think it gets to that point where some celebrities, like it's like human nature when you meet people and you have friends. It's like you meet that person or somebody you idolize, and then it's like that whole image you built up of them come crumbling down when they do or say something right in front of you. And like that's why I say I've always been thankful that I met you and met like so many others, because it was a connection. We talked, and even if it was just like, hey, well, it was nice meeting you, and that's it, I would have been fine. But then just to go an extra mile and say, hey, why don't we just keep in touch? That's even more uniquely awesome. But the particular person that at that Comic-Con, I was like, yeah. So I told my wife about it. I was like, yeah, we're not gonna talk about that person again. So now you want to look them up. But since you brought up a convention, and this is going off the question I was gonna ask you, but I'm still gonna say the Comic-Con conventions real quick. Out of all the Comic-Cons you've done, is there one or any particular moments that stood out to you in a good way? Like if you had like I'll say a top 3, if that, is there like any top 3 moments at conventions you may have came across in a good way?
In some ways, they all kind of blob together into one incredible adventure. The first, I used to go to when New York Comic-Con a long time ago was Big Apple, and we all went to that because we lived in New York, which was pretty cool. But the first real convention that I was invited to, like someone found me, was in New Zealand and Australia. So I went to Armageddon and Supernova in 2002. And to go so far from home based on Pokemon, of all things, I really realized how much bigger Pokemon was than myself, in the sense of I could see the community, and these kids were really small, mostly, who came to see me then. But kids, meaning like 10-year-olds, really small, because I've seen a few of them come back 20 years later and they're not little anymore. But to have that, to just see the impact that a show could have. And then it continues to awe me every single convention that I do. And to see this community that remains so strong, so special, and to see people over 20 years now plus that I've known for actually longer than that, because maybe I started going to like Big Apple. That could have been 97, could have been 99. I'm not sure. I mean, it's been a long time, and I know people. I still see them from that time. Friends who have come up, who've become friends, and that's to me what stands out. Every time I go to a convention, I try to go to a farmer's market. I try to go to local kind of farm to table restaurants, because you really get an idea of the community. My daughter travels with me mostly all the time, and we've been able to really kind of discover people and discover places around the world just from our little explorations. And that's been incredible. We've gone as far as Kuwait and Dubai, which I never even imagined I would get a chance to go to just going to Fayetteville. I mean, Fayetteville is on the East Coast, basically, where I grew up in Virginia, New York. So that's my backyard. So to go to something like that that's so close to home, and then go to places so far from home, it's been extraordinary. But it's the people that make it extraordinary. And that's something that I miss it so much, and I'm incredibly thankful and so honored to be a part of that, because I think conventions are our communities. And that's the thing. It's like the great leveler. We're really all the same. We come together, we share ideas, and it's incredibly special.
Awesome. You definitely answered my question. Rocky just actually posed a question saying, thank you for your kindness and being so welcoming at that convention. Oh. You definitely did not disappoint. Yeah, she's awesome. I'll go ahead and say that she's awesome too.
I respect what comes at me. So it's everybody that I meet is the more awesome.
But they had to have one question. Do you have a favorite Pokemon film?
I think the first one is my favorite because it was the first movie. We recorded part of that in a big soundstage. We had a big you could see it on a giant screen while we were fitting the flap, and it was an incredible experience. I thought the message of the movie was great. I do love watching it back, and on a weird level, I love watching Ash run up and down all those stairs, because it was just really fun doing that. I just weird things like that. I loved every movie afterward, but that was the most special, and it felt like, oh my God, I have a real job. You know?
Yeah, I can understand that. Real quick, I'm gonna put this on here. I always do this because that's my wife sending love.
Hi.
She is so awesome.
Yeah.
So Let's bring up another question real quick. And I just saw this question pop up, and it's from Riff Chick again, and it's dealing back when we was talking about theater not too long ago.
Yeah.
So their question was, could you see yourself performing in a theater production again sometime when theaters are safe again?
I would love to do that. Honestly, one reason that kind of took me away from pursuing theater was my daughter was born, and I didn't really have the time to go to a rehearsal and then go to the theater every night. She would have had to come with me, and it just wasn't it wasn't that possible. So luckily my career had taken a turn toward mostly voiceover, and that's the opportunities that came to me. I did a lot of stage readings and smaller performances that didn't require as much time-wise, but I would definitely, I would go back to being on stage as soon as the opportunity presented itself.
Nice. Awesome. Mm-hmm. You know, I've been asking you a million questions, and this is a conversation between us, so you're more than welcome to ask me anything. I get long-winded when I start doing this, and I get excited, but by all means, feel free to stop me if you have any questions. So I did want to go to what everybody's talking about. So let's talk Pokemon. So the role of Ash Ketchum, how did that come into play?
I was working on Slayers, which I got just because I'd been working on something with Central Park Media, and it was all kind of like being recommended. So because of that, I got an audition for Pokemon. So that's the short story. And then I had many callbacks, and then I was lucky. That's a right place at the right time sort of thing.
Got you. So with the so I feel like it's always been, and I think I could ask this question because for the amount of work you do, you definitely are a workhorse. Like I was looking at all of the stuff you've done, and possibly you're in the process of still doing, which we'll ask that shortly. But you do so much work, and I have to ask this because I know a lot of people love it and hate it at the same time. What's the feelings you have most of the time? Because you've done so many characters, and you have other memorable characters as well that you've done for other shows. Does it ever get to a point that you wish people would see you past Ash Ketchum?
No, because I think everybody has their comfort show, and so that's simply what it is. I think that if we meet because someone is a fan of Pokemon, and then from there we kind of like we meet and then our paths go together, and we find out we have other things in common. If Pokemon is what brings us together, I don't mind that. I do work on a million things, and I'm lucky to work. This past year, I've definitely worked less, and I can't wait for things to kind of like really pick up. But I think however people come together it's about what your loves and your needs are, you know? So no, I have no trouble with being known as the voice of Ash Ketchum.
Okay, I'm glad you said that, because like I know like when most artists is like they do so many roles or they do certain things, but when people always like take that one thing and only see them as that, I know for some people, not all people, some people be like, well, I've done this role too. Why does everybody always see me as this? So right. I figure that's always like a good question to ask an actor for any medium, because I feel like some people don't want to always seem like they're pigeonholed as the person that one person when they've done so many other things. I have a personal question to ask you myself, because I didn't even notice until I researched it. So real quick, Rocky, very well said. Conventions are just something we do, go to. They're gifts. People go to them for many reasons, and they bring so many people together. It's a big community. They do. I can honestly say I did my Nerd Slam there at a convention, and so many people come to them now, because that's like one of the main highlights when we do conventions now, when we do our Nerd Slam, because when you have people basically doing Pokemon versus Wolverine, and we ask them questions, and it's like the hill, people don't know what to expect, because so many people in the audience know the answers, and you can go on the stage and know the answer. Right. Look at hundreds of faces looking at you to see if you got the right answer. You blank. It's like, it's scary. I tell people that all the time. It seems easy, but it's scary. So my question, I used to watch a particular anime known as Yu Yu Hakusho, all the time, and
I don't
noticed,
think I'm on that. Am I on that show?
No. See, that's the thing. You weren't on the show, but you did. And I was wondering how you got the role for. I think it was Botan on the movie because you actually.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Like, how did that come up? Like, it's just a call. They said, "Hey, we just want you to do this voice." And
yeah, with most anime, especially in for most of my career, I suppose. I was trying to think of the years, but most of the things that I did in New York, there was auditions, but then once you kind of got in with a company, they would call you and you would audition for stuff, but it was almost like there was a core group of us and they would kind of choose who they thought would be best and you'd audition for that. And so none of the jobs that I've gotten were ones that I knew about before and pursued.
Okay.
It's all been just luck. In terms of it dropped in my lap and I was like, oh, this is great. And then people actually ended up liking that. And so it became something, but I work on everything the same. I give my 100% and then, people either see it or they don't.
Definitely.
Basically how it works out.
Yeah, I just found that interesting because I love that movie, but then I was like, she was in this movie. And I was like, that's awesome.
No, because when I work on stuff, you don't know if it's like, Pokemon obviously was 52 episodes in a season, but and you knew they were that, but we worked on something for Ninja Turtles and they put it all together, but we worked on it in chunks. So who knew that it was a movie or not? We don't ever get told the full story. So I don't think I knew that when I was playing Botan, it was a movie. It was just
oh wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's interesting because being the OG that you are and everything you do, it's interesting hearing that because so many people talk about they're doing seasons and they know what episodes are going to be in seasons, but like you're saying, like back then it was just here, we're going to give you this chunk of work and you'll find out if
because you show up and then you don't even see it ahead, you don't know what it is, you get there, you get handed the script and you just start working. So it's very guerrilla dubbing in a way.
Wow, that dropping jewels, I love it. So
well, I think that's why being an actor, like having training, is important because you have to be able to show up and do the work as if you've had tons of time to prepare, which you don't. So knowing how to create the character and focus and pick out what you're trying to do in the scene and what you think the person wants from you and how you're responding, and you only ever hear your lines, so you're reading the other person and responding to something that you've read, you haven't heard it. So all of it it's in some ways it's a miracle that anything turns out well at all. But that's why you have a director and the engineer adding in, and it's a real team effort.
Awesome. So I'm going to our next question from Matthew Blair. Matthew Blair says, my question is, if you kept up with the Pokemon anime after all the voice changes and how having to exit the show affected you?
I do not watch Pokemon since we were let go. I do kind of keep up because people let me know what's happening. Being let go from the show I think it affected us all in a pretty horrible way. It was not something we had any control over or any say in. And it's a weird thing to have something that you love and have, committed your heart and your time to. And then suddenly it just goes off, but it's like the boat has sailed and other people are on it now. So it's a weird exercise in letting go, I'd have to say.
Gotcha. And I'm going to keep this up because he also had another question. If he asks one more, of course. I'm sure it may be a bit biased on this one, maybe a no-brainer question, but who is your favorite Pokemon and why?
My favorite Pokemon is Pikachu. I spent a lot of time with Pikachu, and I also, I just think that the relationship that they have is reflective of relationships we all have in our life, and I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned from that. So Pikachu's my favorite.
Awesome. So since we're keeping on the Pokemon theme, real quick, I'm bringing up all the questions that people wrote extra early. Like I said, these questions I'm getting to now came in like the first 5 minutes we logged in, so I just wanted to get to them now. So,
okay.
Veronica, did you play the original Pokemon Game Boy games? I used to have Yellow for Game Boy, and I even won a Mew from an official Nintendo Power contest.
Wow, that's pretty lucky. We have Red. My little brother had Red. So when Rena, my daughter, and I both got a DS, we got Red for that. So that's the only one I've ever played.
Awesome. Let me bring myself back up here.
Yes.
So, I have to ask this question, and as long as it's gonna be like, how'd you get this role, or your thoughts on how you got a certain role. So, yeah. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. So, I love anime a lot. I watched Pokemon, I think the first 3 seasons, but if it's one anime I've always been a fan of, it's always been the Dragon Ball series, except for GT. Except for GT, I never liked GT. A lot of people don't like GT. We have great reason why we don't like GT. So, but I am thankful because I did not know that you played Rivienne. You voiced the Rivienne as far as on the Universal Survival arc. Like, how? Okay, so this question goes with her, and this question goes for. I don't want to say it may be the same question for Ash, but it goes more so for like a lot of characters you did later on past Ash.
Right.
So when it comes to certain characters, like Rivienne, I kind of figured I knew how that character was going to be voiced. But when it comes to certain characters, seeing the aesthetic, seeing the look, have you had the opportunity to try to base that particular voice on that character based on what you feel about it? Or has it been like one of those things where the studio kind of tells you, hey, this is how they sound here. Can you try to match that?
It's both, really. But for the most part with anime, they really want you to get in the pocket of the original voice. And so anime, and that's for anything like that's Japanese or Korean or from any other country, French, anything like that where you're dubbing, most want you to sound like the original actor. And then sometimes you can put your own spin on it. Like in One Piece, I was Nico Robin, and she has a Southern accent, and I know a lot of people hate that, but that's exactly what I want. So there's, as the actor, I don't have a lot of say in things. And nowadays you record your auditions at home, so there's no one there. Whereas before you would go in, and they would give you the script and you try a few things and they say, can you make that younger? Or can you deepen the voice? Can you make that more of a boy? You could play around with it with whomever was casting. Now you're just in your closet recording a couple takes and sending it in. So now in a way, I guess at what they want, but it's much better when you have a casting director who can tell you, kind of guide you closer to that. But yeah, for the most part, it's matching with a little bit of your own sprinkled in.
Got you. So Bill asked a good question.
Mm-hmm.
I watched a handful of Dragon Ball episodes. How has your relationship with Funimation been?
I have been in the booth, meaning either I've gone to a studio here that's recording, and I've been on the phone line with people, is what I should say. So my relationship is fine. I talk to whomever's directing and whomever's engineering. I don't really, in a sense, deal with Funimation. When I was working with 4Kids, we were all in the same building on the same floor, and you could run into people who were kind of running the business, and actually the people who were doing payroll, and you'd see the people who were writing the scripts, and we were all in that same thing together. But with Funimation, I don't really have any contact with them except that I send my audition and sometimes I get cast.
All right.
Yeah.
So that was awesome. So I'm going to bring up this next question because I feel like this is a good question. This question comes from my wife. My wife says, what do you like to do in your downtime? Hello? Are you there? All right, guys. I think we may have some technical difficulties. Give us 1 second. I think she may have got logged out real quick. so she may have to jump back in. We're gonna try to give her a second to jump back in.
Oh, yeah, could you see me?
There we go. Yeah, you like we're stuck.
Yeah, okay. I had both things were spinning.
So
I might have. Hold on one second. In my studio, there's the Ethernet cable. I just am giving instructions to my daughter. Maybe it might have. Oh, I don't know how we're gonna plug it into this. Let's just go on and we'll see. We'll wing it.
Do you need time to get an Ethernet cord or anything like that? I mean, it's live. I mean, I'm fun with doing anything.
I don't know how this computer doesn't have a way to plug it in. So I don't know if we have another. I have to think about this for a minute. So otherwise, we have pretty good Wi-Fi here, but I guess it's being temperamental.
That's why I love doing live shows. You never know what's going to happen. So
both of us were spinning.
I think because I asked the question and then like you were just like stuck. So I was like, I don't know what's happening now.
Okay, ask me again.
So no problem. My wife asked the question, what do you like to do in your downtime?
Gosh, I don't know anymore. I feel like
I'm sorry. I have never heard an answer like that. That is like the most awesome question. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't feel like we have downtime anymore. I just am like, all I do is I work. I think about working. I think about not working. I watch the news. I try to read up more on COVID. I talk to my family all the time. And then I still am behind on like emailing people I haven't talked to in a while. All these things, my to-do list is so long. I don't know what I do anymore for fun. So I don't know. And it's like we're so busy, and then suddenly you realize, oh my God, we need to eat dinner, and then you try to order out and then you're like, let's just open a can of soup because I don't know what I want. Like it's so I don't know how to think anymore. So I don't know, maybe you all feel like that now, but this past year has been the weirdest time. And when I was busier, I got more done, like when I was traveling and going to studios to work or whatever. But now it's like I get work emails at 11 o'clock at night on a Saturday. Like there's no line between downtime and work time anymore. And it's all just, so I don't know. I think in the past, I used to like to meet up with friends and maybe go out to dinner and like maybe watch TV because I just was watching it. But now I just watch it. Like I need a break, but you just don't get one. So I don't know. What about you?
For me, my downtime, so it's weird. I have to find it in little chunks when I get it. So like and I understand the whole thing about being busy. So normally my regular routine day would be me and my wife wake up at 6 in the morning, 6:30 in the morning. My wife goes to work and she works on post for doing a contractor job. When I mean on post, like at a military base, because she's a clinical social worker by trade. So, and me, wow. I work with part-time for the Boys and Girls Club. So I go into work early because normally we would go in the afternoon, but since the whole pandemic happened, kids are doing virtual learning, so people take their kids to the Boys and Girls Club. Right. So I do that. When I get off, I go to Planet Fitness. I try to work out for a little bit. When I come home, I think I may have time to relax for about an hour, and then I'm almost like you. I'm either trying to finish up a project, I'm sending out emails, I'm doing submissions. I try to figure out if I'm going to cook or not, or I've got to go grab some takeout as well. I think me and my wife are finally getting some small little kind of break next week. We're going to like the mountains just to get away for a second. Yeah. But it's just one of those things where it's been like this year has been like we travel a lot because my wife loves to travel, and the fact that we haven't really been able to travel because of everything with the pandemic, it's been kind of it's been okay, it's been not okay. I've been able to pick up a new habit. I learned how to play guitar, so I've been trying. Oh, wow. I've been trying to find ways to keep busy, but the main thing I did last year, I think the main thing I did as far as any kind of break, I played my PlayStation 4 a little bit more than I normally do. So I mean, that was probably like the best I've done. All I really did was just do some work, have some great achievements happen, released a new book. That's pretty much all I did last year, and
Yeah, that's a lot. That's certainly a lot.
So, questions. I see you had some questions came up. Skywind asked, "What do you think of Team Rocket on Pokemon?"
I don't think Pokemon would be as great as it is without Team Rocket. They are so funny, and they're that classic vaudevillian act, and it's classic comedy. So I don't think it would be. I don't know. Without Team Rocket, it would be nothing. So I think they're funny. I love the jokes.
Not Becky. Rocky. I apologize, Rocky. I got bad eyes. I'm older than I look. So Rocky has one more question. He says, one of the best things about Pokemon was Ash's friendship with Misty and Brock. Mm. How do you think Ash's journey would have gone had he never met them?
Well, I mean, isn't that kind of the question for all of us? When you look back and you think about your close friendships, and kind of, sometimes I like to think about, I have this job or I have this friendship, and I trace back how I got to this point. And so for them, Ash, Misty and Brock kind of completed him. They enabled him to become the person who would charge out in front, because they could do other things. Misty could be scared, so Ash could be brave. Brock could kind of take care of them, so Ash could be independent. So they needed each other to all to work as a team. I think he would be a different person if he hadn't traveled with them, as all of us would be completely different if we didn't have the people on our journey that we met. Even some people that we met once, and someone held the door for you, and that shifted your life that day into something else, and then it shifted the way you thought about things. So I think we all are who we are because of who we've traveled with, essentially. So yeah, I think he would have been completely different.
Nice answer. I got a question. Have you ever heard people have anybody at conventions or just online ever came to you about Pokemon theories on certain stories or characters or anything like that?
Yeah.
What's one of the weirdest ones you've heard of any Pokemon character, whether it be the Pokemon itself or one of the people in the Pokemon universe?
My favorite is that Ash is in a coma and that he's dreamt all of this. So that the whole journey has just been his, like, in his mind. And I kind of like that, in terms of then does he just wake up on that first day as he did in his pajamas and go running out the door, but he's already lived all of this. I don't know. I find that really interesting. And like, when you think about parallel universes and time as a construct and, all those things, it fits in with what is real. So I don't know. I like it because it just makes my mind go off and into its own black hole of thought.
I heard one, and I'm probably gonna butcher it a little bit, but there is one. I think it was there's a theory I heard dealing with Ash Ketchum. I think it deals with the legendary Pokemon, and I think that was like the first episode. I think it was like a legendary Pokemon they said he's seen.
Yeah, Ho-Oh.
Right. Yeah, and apparently I think it granted wishes or something like that. I can remember. It was something. It was like some story like it granted wishes.
Yeah.
But the thing was, they said he's seen it, and the wish he granted was to be young forever. So all of these seasons that's been happening, and the reason you don't see like Misty and Brock and certain people is because they have gotten older, but he still stays young.
Ooh, yeah, okay. That's
why he's still able to go on all these adventures.
Yeah. I don't think any child who's 10 would wish to be young forever. Like, how many 10-year-olds are like, this is awesome? Forever. Because when you're 10, all you think about is being old and like what you can do when you're 21 or when you're 30 or even when you're, 16. There's always like, I wish I were older. So, but I do think that Ash embodies that, like, the youthfulness inside all of us. Like, all of us when we're 10 kind of have an idea of who we are. And that's what Ash is. So I think that's why it's so easy to come back to him at any age, because it reminds you of you at 10. He doesn't have to get older because he just is. as we all are. And yet then our responsibilities start coming in, and we have, jobs and rent and children and family, and, so, but he doesn't have that. He just is us, is who we at the core are. So in that sense, he does stay young, as do we, forever.
Nice. I like that answer. So I want to bring up a question, but I think you answered this one, but I think it's just a little bit more context to it.
Okay.
So once again, I think somebody asked, how do you feel when Pokemon changed voices from Brock to Tracy? Was there a reason behind Eric Stewart out of the role? Is he still voicing James? And yeah, I'm gonna let you answer that. I'm gonna let you take it away.
Well, none of that had anything to do with us here in America. I don't know why they, because it all starts in Japan, and so I don't know why they decided to have Brock go off and have Tracy come in and then have them switch back again. I have no idea. And it had absolutely nothing to do with any of the actors in America. And so in that sense, it was lucky for Eric that he was playing James, because he still just was on the show. But yeah, I have no idea why. That never was answered. I don't know that I ever asked the question. But
Gotcha. There was another question that popped up. I'm gonna go to this one from Skywin again. He says, you just voiced Ash for 8 years, and what do you want to take out? Any lesson from Pokemon and advising younger or future generations should do?
I think the most important lesson that I learned was the power of positivity. Ash would never say, oh no, we'll never get out of here. He always says, what can we do? How can we work on this together and accomplish this, whatever it is? I think for me, that's the most powerful lesson, is that you have to look at things in a positive way. Because it's so easy to be negative about everything. I mean, look at the situation we're in right now in the US and around the world. The pandemic is really hitting all of us hard, and you have to find a positive outlook. Otherwise, you stay mired in the black hole of your negativity, and you really can't get anything done anyway, and you certainly can't help others. So I would think that's the most important lesson that I've taken away, at least.
I love that. So I have a few more questions to ask you, and then I guess we may wrap this up. It just depends what do people say. So one of my biggest things that I love about you, the person, Veronica Taylor, is that it's not only you that's out here doing the good work in the community. And when I mean the community, I'm not just talking about the animated community. I'm talking about the community as a whole, like everything going on when it talks about dealing with racial injustices, when it deals with the everything that's going on with politics. And I feel that you are a good beacon of light to a lot of people, so much so being that to your daughter, because if anybody is fans of yours and follow you on Instagram or your social media, there are tons of pictures with both of you. So what is it like for your daughter knowing that she is basically having to share you with the world in some capacity? Because like you said, when you mentioned earlier, you were talking about you started with the voice acting because it was a little bit more time to spend with your daughter, because if you went to theater, then you would have been away more. But now knowing that you, regardless of how everybody looks at it, you being this big megastar that will go down in history as one of the best voice actors of all time, in my opinion. I don't care what anybody say.
That's nice of you.
Yeah, I'm being nice. I'm being honest, because like you do a lot of work. Like if anybody sees your resume, you've done a lot of work, and we're only talking about anime. We're not talking about the audiobooks and everything else you've done, including Money Heist, which that's a whole other thing that people may not even know about. See,
did you watch that? I haven't seen the whole thing.
Yeah, I've seen bits and pieces of it, but
yeah,
I research. So, but
that too is dubbing. So it's actually looping when you're doing on with real faces. But yeah, that show is crazy. It's so popular. But it's kind of violent. I haven't seen a lot of the violent stuff.
I've seen bits and pieces of it because I started getting caught up in other shows. But how does your daughter feel knowing that she has to share you with the world at times? I mean, I know the family time is important, but does she at times just say, hey, you should take a little break. You know, we need to go places. But in the same sense, how does she also feel knowing that she's out here doing the great work with her mom?
Well, I never want to speak for her, but I will say that certainly, I think every parent, I can't speak for every parent. I guess what I've always tried to do is to make sure that my home is number one, and then paying the bills is number two. And so that is going to work and whatever, going to conventions. If she didn't come with me, I couldn't go. So we worked really hard on trying to figure out how to make that work, how to bring along homework, how to make the most of our time when we weren't sitting talking to other people, how we were together doing that rather than just me doing something. So it's really us rather than just me. I think it's a big lesson to learn, and I learned it also, how to think about others above yourself. And conventions it's really not about me. It's not about my daughter. It's about the people that we meet. And it's about, we had to really learn together how to be present for the people that we're talking to. You can be having a terrible day and it doesn't matter, because what matters is the person who has come to talk to us and being able to listen and just be there in the moment. So I think that's been a big lesson, and I think it's a big life lesson. And she had to learn that from a very early age, where most of us don't. You know, like even that with sitting at the table, she wasn't allowed to look at her phone or read in any way that seemed rude to the people who were spending time to come and speak to us. So I think she's worked very hard to be in the moment, I guess. I'm trying to think of, it's so hard because if she was upset, then I wouldn't have gone. And even when she wasn't feeling well, I would sometimes have to cancel work. And we really just tumble around and work it all out so that she can be her best and I can be my best. And she can come to work with me. I would go on field trips. I helped with homework. You know, like we just worked it out. And luckily I had only one child, so I could really focus. And I didn't have to have like 3 children doing Zoom school. You know, like we had a ton of homework to do in the evenings, but we were able to work it out. So I think we both learned to share, and she more so. I mean, it's definitely not been easy, but she's an incredible human being, and so she's been able to rise to that, and she continues to rise. She continues to be extraordinary. So I'm lucky to have a traveling companion as special as she is.
Yeah,
I hope I answered your question.
You did
that because all of us have so many things with our families, so many hurdles that we have to get over, and figuring out how to do that so that you can give your child the attention and energy that they deserve, so that they can become the greatest human being in the world and keep our planet spinning.
Hey, you did answer my question. I think the beautiful thing about that, and the reason I kind of told you like earlier before we even went live, I was going to bring up a question dealing with your daughter.
Yeah,
because I think a lot of people, and this goes to it goes to a testament of something. A lot of people know Veronica Taylor as OG Ash Ketchum,
right?
But how many people know like the intricacies and the beauty of the person that's just Veronica Taylor? Like I don't want to know. Like I know Veronica as voices. But how many people know like Veronica Taylor? And just hearing your story and just telling people like, hey, I have a wonderful daughter and I make sure home is taken care of first before I take care of these bills, because that starts with the foundation. I think people that are probably here that knows you so much hears that and it just gives them a better appreciation, because a lot of people love you already. So just hearing that now makes it more beautiful, especially in the world we live in now. So, and
I will say too that I think, because we're in an age where we just see pictures on the internet, we have social media and everybody puts their best side forward and, you know, all of that. There's no question that we're all trudging through the same muck and we're seeing the same bright sun, and we have to get there together. And things are never easy here. I mean, we work really hard here in my home and in my family um, to to try to just get through it positively, and that's not something we ever talk about. Nor does anyone ever need to know that. But
Exactly.
I would just confide in you all that it's not easy. It's hard work, and I'm happy to have done it. But all of us are working hard, and so I encourage you all to continue and know that I'm right there with you.
So, two more questions for me.
Okay.
With everything that's going on, the amount of work that you do,
Yes.
Every artist, and I always say this because I do, and this isn't to take anything away from the frontline workers or everybody that lost their jobs, but I think it always goes under the rug that nobody talks about artists and the arts and how they've been dramatically affected by the pandemic as well. So how has it been for you trying to work through a year where a lot of the things you would normally go for or have kind of get pulled from you, and now you have to try to find new ways to get around it? Because even though, like you said, you're working from home, but it's definitely not the same. And I know what a lot of people, not saying you particular, but I know what a lot of people that may go out and do cons. I know with when you do the Comic-Con circuit, a lot comes from that. But then with cons being shut down, that kind of deters a little bit of what you would normally expect within a year. So how's it been for you working through that with everything that happened during the pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, we've all seen so much disappear, really. I mean, think about Broadway. That's just been closed. There's so many actors have been just totally out of work. I'm lucky that I have a little closet studio here, because when I moved to LA, I continued working with some New York studios. So we found a way to record 6 years ago before we knew we'd have to record this way. And then, I think slowly in this year, more things like more video games realized that they could work at home. And the year just really slowly churned. Even audiobooks, which I didn't want to record at home before, slowly they came around to having me record here. So, but it's hard to, you can hear cars going by outside. I think every car has taken their muffler off in Los Angeles since last March. It's incredibly loud. But work has been just, it's weird to focus. It's hard to commit the time and the focus, because there's so much going on and it's so stressful. And then to sit in the booth and do like weird voices or do a book that takes hours and hours. It's different than like getting out in the morning and walking or driving to work and then just focusing there and coming home. Plus they have air conditioning in most studios and I don't. So that's the ugly side of things, of me, just dripping sweat because it's so hot in my apartment. So it's kind of gross. After this, no one will work with me in person. But yeah, I think it's been a real struggle, and I have projects that I'd like to work on, and I'm constantly trying to figure out how to do that. And I mean, you published a book. I mean, that's pretty incredible. That takes focus. I've not gotten to that point yet where I'm just like churning along. I'm still, I'm lucky that I have some work that's continued. Yeah. So, and I'm hoping it picks up next year. Well, it is next year. So now.
So like with me, it's been real crazy. So like yesterday, I kind of mentioned it. So I was doing a virtual show because I couldn't do the normal physical show because of the pandemic. And I mentioned it because what I tried to do is I had author friends that are also authors, and we did like a virtual like author spotlight kind of book conference on my show yesterday. But it's been hard for me because like I had this book come out. Like I'm a person, I do a book every 2 years. So like when this book came out, it was like the first kind of full book I've done since 2007, and it did better than I expected to do because of me not doing how I normally would do, because I normally do a whole little mini tour and go do features around either the south, either in the southern states, or I go where I'm originally from, Michigan, Ohio, and make my way down. So for me not to do that this year has been kind of crazy. And I think the one thing I did do when we were able to. Which I was blessed to do. I did a dramatic book reading for my book. So I had some of the stage actors here actually do a dramatic reading of my book, and we had a big enough space to make it socially distant. Everybody wore masks the whole time. We checked temperatures. We did all of that.
Wow. Yeah.
Guidelines, and it went exceptionally well. And then I got blessed to do a radio interview with a person I met who is now a good friend by the name of Nadine Top, who actually has a radio station in Germany. So we did a interview for a German radio station, and then a lot of people in Germany ended up buying the book when it came out too.
Wow.
So that is awesome, but it's not. But at the same time, I'm like, I really need to get back out here and like talk to people, because it's good, but it ain't. I just miss that aspect of like, I guess I can say some people call it just the workhorse mindset. I call it the hustler's mindset, because like at the end of the day, you're really just trying to just show people your product and get it out there. So.
Yeah, exactly. And will you put a link to your book here on the end of our?
I can definitely do that now, because you mentioned it. I wasn't going to even do it. So for all the people that's out here listening, I have tons of books, but what I want you guys to do is, if you get a chance, I want you to go to my website, which I am posting right now. I apologize if I keep looking up, because I got to make sure everything is good right now.
Right.
Take a
picture of it.
Yeah, gotta make sure we get it good in here for everybody.
Right.
So, but I'm glad you mentioned that. I appreciate you doing that. So I have a lot of books that came out. My new book that came out is known as 310. It's basically a poetry book dealing with life hacks. So it's a life hack that starts the title. The poem goes the life hack. But one of the main books I did when I first met you was this book, and I actually have it with me, called Blurred Lines, which is actually a poetry book based off of cartoon characters, anime characters, certain things. There's a poem about Eeyore talking about how he gets through his depression. There's a poem about King Bowser in the Mushroom Kingdom talking about his failed relationship with Princess Toadstool because Mario came in the picture and it had because of him. But it's a lot of stuff. But if anybody's interested, you can definitely look it up on that site right there. Poetry in Motion NC.
Okay. I'm going to take a picture. So.
I'm going to go ahead and change that real quick because I misspelled a word. Got to fix that. But yeah, so that's basically where you can purchase the book.
Good.
Right there.
I'll go in there right after this. Okay.
There's a link right there. VistaPrintDigital.com. PoetryMotionNC.VistaPrintDigital.com. That's where you guys can look for the book, and definitely look for the book Blurred Lines. Nerd poems. You will love it. You will enjoy it. I even have a personal poem in there about myself based around It's a Wonderful Life. So,
ooh, wow.
Yeah, it starts off horrific, but it gets better. So, that's the whole story about It's a Wonderful Life. First story about me, 2017, I used to work for CarMax for almost 10 years.
Really?
Yes,
wow.
10 years. And long story short, the month before December, I ended up getting invited to speak at Duke University for a veterans panel because I'm also a U.S. Army veteran. So we spoke at that panel, and my job tried to say I didn't call out, and I had all the evidence showing I did. So I came in one day, and I found, and like as soon as I got there, they fired me. So, and this was 2 days after Christmas, and I was like, I walked out knowing that I was happy leaving the job, but after a while, it was like, what's going to happen? And like a lot of stuff started happening in my life where I started thinking very negative. And right when that happened, like a couple of days later, my wife ended up taking me to a stage play of It's a Wonderful Life here in Fayetteville. And it inspired me to write the poem I wrote about that because my life paralleled that. Yeah. So that's how that came to be. Speaking of my wife, Veronica, what are your upcoming projects that you can share with us? Because, sometimes y'all can't share everything.
Yeah, there's some things that I work on that I don't even know the title of, so I can't share that. What am I doing? I have some things, like I was just cast in something in December, and I don't know when we're starting to work on it, so I probably shouldn't say what that is because I don't know if it'll ever happen. like, but I definitely have I have some books that I'm starting to record soon, and my daughter and I are working on some things that are like a variety show type thing that we're going to put out on the YouTube. So we'll talk about that on social media, but like little snippety things that we're trying to. We have a lot of weirdo ideas, and I mean, you can see my house is weird, and so we're trying to do some stuff. But what am I getting paid for?
I like that.
Yeah, some like audiobook stuff and some video game things. And I think I might be working on, I'm on Akudama Drive. That thing's out right now. That's one thing I'm working on at the moment. Yeah, I think I'm doing stuff. I don't know. I'm the worst at this. I'm working on stuff. And when it's happening, I put it on social media because that's where it is. My website's been down for a long time, but I think by the end of February it could be up.
Hey, nice. I love it.
2021. My website came down. I think it was first made in 2000, and it was never updated. And then it was kind of being worked on, but nothing ever happened. So now, 21 years later.
Awesome.
If I can do it, so can you. Anyway, so I'm getting some help with that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of plomping along and working. Plomping being the thing. I'm really just waiting to go see my family. So everything pales in that. So hopefully if I keep working on it, I can pay for a flight.
So I'm going to leave you some quick things real quick before I get to my last question and a bonus question. Rocky, who I appreciate. Rocky says no more questions. I just want to thank you both for doing this tonight. It sort of felt like a mini convention.
Good.
And Veronica, hope you meet you again at a convention one day. Stay safe. I appreciate you, sir.
And also, let's just hope the next time we can see you all and actually make eye contact and perhaps give each other a hug. That would be extraordinary. But this is a nice way to at least connect. And again, I thought this was so fortuitous that we came together today. And there's been so much going on and so much uncertainty. And there still is. And I think that I think the main thing we all have to think about is that we have each other. And that's one reason to wear a mask. Keep yourself and everyone else safe. And the sooner we can tamp down the COVID, the sooner we can get together. So I think keeping in mind our community is the most important thing.
All right.
Yeah,
guys.
I agree.
The world does need artists. Bills, thank you so much, Bill. We appreciate you. I'll hop over from Artist Alley. Hey.
Awesome.
Matthew Blair, have you ever thought about doing live Q&As on YouTube or Insta? You might already, and I haven't seen it. I have so many questions that could chat with you all day.
Yeah.
I think he's bringing that to you.
I do sometimes. My daughter and I have done them every now and then. Sometimes I do feel a bit overburdened by just life in general, and being on camera is the last thing I actually want to do. But I always find I feel so much better after we've all gotten a chance to talk. So perhaps we will do more. Do you do any, LJ? Do you go on?
So I am trying to get better at doing live videos on Instagram. I'm strictly, when I do live videos, I do it on Facebook only because with Facebook, it makes it easier. And hopefully so I'll use StreamYard to do this. I'm hoping StreamYard can find a way to put this on Instagram because I have to always direct people to YouTube or Facebook.
Right.
I would love to connect the Instagram on here as well, because that way it connects to everything. But I'm trying to be better at Instagram. It's hard for me because everybody that follows me on Instagram, they work different hours or they.
That's right. Right.
So it's hard to do it because I'm gonna do this real quick. Facebook, nobody cares. They just get on there even if they're at their job. So, so it makes it easier for me. So, last question for me, and then a bonus question. So, last question for me is what I like to ask everybody: what is one thing you would want people to What is one thing you would want people to know about Veronica Taylor when they first meet her?
I care about you. And I would much rather hear you talk than me talk.
I've never heard nobody answer that part. That is awesome. So, bonus question.
Yes.
The bonus question is, if, and you don't have to answer this, this is just me being me. Okay. You've been to Fayetteville Comic-Con before.
Yes.
You've had, I don't know, how many times have you been to Fayetteville Comic-Con? Once or twice?
2 or 3.
2 or 3? All right. So I know you've had panels there before, correct?
Yes.
All right. If you were to happen, let's say October, because I was hoping we do the April, but it's probably not going to happen until October.
April will not happen.
I know that's what I'm saying. I don't think April's going to happen. I know it's not going to happen.
That's that. I've been holding on to hope for so many things, but with how bad the pandemic is right now in the U.S., April will not happen.
Oh,
but
yeah. I don't think it's going to happen.
October, maybe.
Yeah. So if you were to come here in October,
yes,
this is just like, I want to say throwing darts at a dartboard. If you were to come in October to have a panel, would you like for me to moderate your panel?
Yes. Sure. But you'd have to fight whomever they have.
I know. I always have to fight.
That would be a whole nother thing. Like fighting. By then, you could sweat and punch someone and like wrestle them. At this point, no. But I love that show. I love Fayetteville and everyone who runs the show there, who works on the show there. Anytime they invite me, I say yes, and then we figure out the schedule from there. So yes, the answer is yes, yes, yes.
Got you. Well, if we can make that happen, I would love to. I had the pleasure of doing Tony Todd's panel with another friend of mine. That was awesome. And I think a lot of people just always see me do this, so the question always comes up. So I'm like, I just have general conversations. I'm like, we'll talk about it offline. So everybody, this is Veronica Taylor. I hope you guys have enjoyed her. I hope y'all got to know a lot more about her than what you've already known.
Maybe too much.
We're human. We're human. I think that's a beautiful thing because I say this and I sincerely mean this. I don't think you said too much personally, but I do think that if anybody did not know how relatable and how personable you are, then they know now. And I think that's the great thing about shows like this is because you get the chance to ask questions and you get to hear from the artist past the certain point of their artistry. So real quick, Miss Veronica Taylor, for anybody that doesn't know, where can they find you at on social media? I'm
on Twitter at the Veronica T. I'm on Instagram at the Veronica T and Facebook, the Veronica Taylor. So that's that. I also want to say too, I think given the year that we had last year where so much was churned up, I would like people to remember that we are all one. And that's us as just regular human beings, we as Americans, we as citizens of this planet Earth. And that I think that's the most important thing. It doesn't matter. Obviously, we're still talking about America mostly because we are in this horrible pandemic here. We have horrific political situations going on. I think it's really important to remember that we're all the same. We all deserve respect and equality, and we all deserve to be listened to. And I don't think that we are so far apart politically speaking, because we all want the same things. Ultimately, we want a better world for our children to grow up in. We want clean air and clean water, and we want fair wages, all of that. And we all can work together to achieve all of that. And I think it begins with open heart, with love, and with listening, and wearing a mask so that you're not giving too much. Say it, don't spray it. But I think it's really important that we remember that, and that's how we step forward into 2021. We can't hold hands, but we are symbolically holding hands, and we join together and we go for love. So, and then we meet soon enough and we can all hug. for now, we hug.
Yes.
But anyway, it's been so lovely to talk with you, LJ, and your wife typing from wherever. I know
She's
this
in the front. She's in the front room.
really not the easiest time at all, and I so appreciate you having me on your show just for a minute, and everyone joining us and with their questions, and it's been extraordinary.
Yes.
So it's been a great start to my year.
Thank you. You've been a great blessing to this year. I think everything you said, beginning through end, whether people know it or not, it was very much so absorbed and very much well needed for the time that we have.
Yeah.
Since you brought her back up, you seem so positive and have a genuine good spirit. Thank you for sharing this time.
Thank you, Monica. I send my love to you. A lot. A big, big hug to you.
So that's the end of our show, guys. If you are on Facebook and you're just not tuning in, please, by all means, go to the LJ Bowens artist page. You will see the live video. Well, you'll see this video saved and you can recap it there. If you're on YouTube and watching this on YouTube, this video will be saved there because YouTube saved these videos.
Forever,
unless something happens, and we hope nothing happens. We have a full schedule of people that's going to be on this show this year. There will be breaks. But total this season, we have, including Veronica Taylor, we have 8 people that you will see on this show. It's a lot of stuff happening. I can't wait for all the artists that we're going to talk to. Some of them are painters. Yeah, some are painters. Some are comedians. Some are DJs. It's a lot of different art conversations coming at different times. Just be prepared for the schedule when we put it back out here. And that is all I have. Everybody, please be safe. We love y'all, and always